Ladies, have you been led astray? Did you diddle where maybe you shouldn't have dabbled? Have you been unfaithful to your husband, wife, partner, main squeeze? Well, there's a judgment-free podcast just for you. Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity, hosted by Rebecca Adams, tells the stories of these women from their perspective, anonymously and without judgment.
I met the first man I had an emotional affair with online. He was far away, but he provided me with all of the emotional validation that my marriage was lacking. The first time we talked, he showed an interest in me as a person. It was refreshing.
If you need to come clean, get it off your chest, confess your sins with no Hail Marys required, then Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity is the podcast for you. And remember, it's completely anonymous and judgment-free.
Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe today.
Hey guys, it's Shawn Perry, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
All right, so thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. Where are you located?
I'm in Vermilion, Ohio, so I'm like kind of halfway in between Cleveland and Toledo, right on Lake Erie.
Oh, the season's changing there already? You cold?
Yesterday was the first day that it was kind of cold, but then it got warm again. So like Ohio's weird, man. Like we'll go. Sorry, I got a kitten who's like, this is Sylvie.
I have a dog running around, so he'll be here somewhere. Nice.
We rescued her from a wood pile and she's spicy.
Nice.
So Ohio's weird, man. Like the joke with Ohio is always like, if you don't like weather, stick around a little bit, it'll change.
Right.
So it was like 85 degrees a couple days ago. And then it was like in the 40s, like yesterday.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's a mix. It's just now getting cold here, so it's hoodie season. So,
where are you at?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, yeah,
probably
Virginia,
not that much different than you. I don't think it was 45 or something last night.
Yeah, I don't think you guys get the like the polar vortexes and the lake.
No, you got the lake right there. Yeah,
it gets weird.
Anyway, let's talk about Shawn Perry. For those,
okay.
We're not here to talk. Wow.
Want to?
Yeah. For those not familiar with your music and your work, can you give us the 2-sentence elevator pitch? That's a tough one.
What I do musically is kind of whatever I want to do. Like I purposely went the solo route a few years ago just because I got tired. It's mostly the same band, but I got tired of having these conversations with like major label A&R guys of like, you got to make a record that sounds more like Breaking Benjamin or Shinedown. And I'm like, I don't want to, man.
Right.
Like, I just don't want to do that. So I kind of went the Bowie route where like, if you listen to David Bowie, he's got, everything from songs like Nine Inch Nails to whatever. So what I do for the most part is, hip hop, heavy metal, boy band, country, stuff, beach music. So it's like a little bit of Van Halen, a little bit of Jimmy Buffett, a little bit of Naughty by Nature. It's just fun rock stuff. Some of the stuff like the new single Hard Rock Hillbilly is way more rock and roll. And some of it is way more influenced by pop music. Hi, look at Sylvie again. Hello.
Right. But in the end, I mean, I see where the record companies are coming from, especially with the music business being as crappy as it is. But in the end, that's the stuff that
they do that to bands, though. Like if you're a solo artist, you tend to be able to do kind of more what you want to do. Like even if you look at like a lot of the country artists or even somebody like Kid Rock, he kind of gets to do whatever he feels like doing because he's a solo artist.
And he sells millions.
Yes, but when you're a band, they want you to keep making the same record over and over again. It seems like so. It's just it's funny because like everyone I've talked to as a solo artist, that's never been part of the conversation. But when I was in a band, it was always like, well, you got to do X, Y, Z. I'm like, but I hate that.
Right. So that freedom that it gives you is pretty amazing, right? Because then you could just approach the songwriting organically in any way you want.
Yeah, and I approach it, the same way. I basically write to whatever mood hits me. And, you know, it's nothing real crazy. I'm not going to put out like circus music or anything.
Right.
You know, but it does give me the option to do a lot more of what I want to do and to explore other types of music that I like listening to versus like, you know, when I was doing a metal band, it was like, you know, they want you to do a very specific thing, which wasn't why we existed as a band in the first. You know, like the last band that I did with Corey and Jeff, who were in this project, was like circa 2010, 12. And we were doing like a throwback 80s Guns N' Roses kind of thing, basically as a response to all the Shine Downs and the 3 Days Grace and all that stuff that was pipe us real. Because honestly, like we were not into it, man. We were just like, what is this? Like, you know, we, you know, it just wasn't for us. And, you know, and so we started that band as a response to that. And we played some big festivals and we were on a smaller label, but like every question that we ever had about taking it higher was like, can you carbon copy this? And we're like, it's like, dude, I can play Eruption when I was 12. Why do I want to carbon copy Shinedown?
Right.
You know, so it is what it is, man. But it's been fun, man. And it's cool. Like my last single, Lawn Chair, was a real fun, you know, beach driven. It could have been a song I wrote for Jason Mraz, and it was cool, man. And the crowd loves it. So they get their cell phone songs, they get their thrash songs, they get their chill songs, and it's all good.
When you're writing, and I imagine you have to keep in mind your audience, but if you're writing with that kind of freedom, do you ever worry that you're too far outside of the box, or do you just not concern yourself and put it out?
I have not had a problem with that, man, to be honest with you. And what's funny is like, you know, I'm sure you've seen this where like, you know, somebody goes to a concert with somebody, like they're not into that person. They've been dragged along. They have no idea what it's about. I'll see sometimes like somebody that's not jiving with one of the other songs. And then all of a sudden something else comes on and they're just like, yes.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing, man. It's like, you know, you cast a big net, you'll catch a lot of fish. And that's kind of how I look at it, you know?
So also, I think that your kind of music is really appropriate for this sort of time because there's so much shit going on. There's so much that everyone's going through. It's great music to just kick back, have some fun, drink a beer on your front porch or your back porch, or at least that's what I'm thinking when I listen to it. It's good music. It's good music to hang with friends and drink and just chill, as opposed to really having to think about what you're saying or, you know, what the deep, dark meaning is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, most of the stuff that I do these days, the meaning of the songs are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You know, the thing with Hard Rock Hillbilly, which I find super hilarious, is that a lot of folks that might be super into that song at first glance, when they start reading the lyrics, might be like, whoa, man, he might be preaching at me a little bit to stop being such a butthead.
Right. But from
you know what I mean?
But from first listen, you don't get that.
Right. And I try to do that a lot with there's a few songs on the record that are like that. I mean, some of them aren't, but like there's another song called We Are America that, again, I think that same demographic, when they first hear it, are going to be like, yeah, America, yeah, God damn it. And then they start reading the lyrics and like, ooh.
Maybe not. Right.
You know, and I'm totally okay with that, man. Like I used to be a youth minister, and I do a lot of, you know, stuff as far as community outreach and that kind of stuff. And I'm okay with, you know, being the person that kind of tries to change hearts and minds away from, let's just say, the particularly negative things that have been going on in this country the last 10 or 15 years. And if it takes rock and roll that you can't resist pumping your fists for you to do that, then so be it. You know, but that's...
I think that's the word I was going for, the rock and roll you can't resist. It's the... For me, it's the sitting on the porch or sitting at the beach, hanging with your friends and cranking it kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the vibe I get when I listen to your music. So yeah, I think that was perfectly said. Do you worry about offending anybody after they get into it, or you don't give a shit about that either?
Well, I used to do reality TV, so I used to get paid to do it.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't think that I necessarily do it in a way that's meant to offend. I think it's meant to make you think. You know what I mean? And if you're doing your job right, it should be that way. I mean, it's not like, and I love Rage Against the Machine, but it's not like Rage Against the Machine where it's like, F you, do what I tell you. Like that, I'm not going to do songs like that. It's not my vibe. It's not really what I do. But if it makes you think a little bit, then that's good. You know what I mean? So I'd much rather be the kind of person that drops little nuggets for you to chew on versus punching you in the face with it, So a little, not quite the Phil Anselmo approach to life.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah.
When you're go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man.
I was going to say, when you're writing, are you approaching it with like a sort of theme for the day or a theme for the song or for the record, or are you writing and it just happens?
It depends. I'm super influenced by, pop culture and what's going on in the media and what's going on just around me. Sometimes I will get inspiration for song lyrics. Like I'll hear somebody say something and go, ooh, that's a good title for a song, or that kind of stuff. So it's 50-50 on whether I just have like a cool riff or something that I want to write to, and then whether or not I come across some particular idea or theme or a phrase that, gives me the inspiration for the song. So like with Hard Rock Hillbilly, my cat's knocking stuff off the counter, man. So
that's great.
With Hard Rock Hillbilly, I have that main guitar riff first, that down, that kind of like Dead or Alive, Bon Jovi, but way harder kind of thing going on. And I just wanted to write something that went with that, and then the song filled itself in after that. So like I actually wrote that song back, and probably like 2015, and it's just now made into a record. And the lyrics became more and more relevant as time marched on the last 5 years. And it's funny because like we were in the studio working on it when like the Capitol riots happened, and I'm just like, well, this couldn't hit at a better time.
Right.
I think we were actually we I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and check, but I think like the following weekends we went in to go do all the guitars.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was already just set up that way. Like the song is 5 years old. Now the parts that Pala added, those are all brand new because we wanted to bring in a rapper to do some features on it. And
right.
Stuff. But like he just went off what I had and wrote accordingly from his perspective and all that kind of stuff. But the rest of the song has been done since like 2015. So yeah, there's a video on our old bass players page of us doing it. If anybody questions, it's like, no, that song's that old.
Are you planning on sticking with the new music business model of singles every 6 weeks or whatever it is, or as they come along? Or are you planning on putting together a record or EP?
Yes. So to answer that question, it's probably going to be more like 8 weeks just because I'm trying to do a music video with them. Sorry, hang on 1 second. Sorry, I had jiu-jitsu. I got cramps.
Oh, no worries.
So yeah, we're pretty much sticking to trying to do every 8 weeks. So I want to try and put out like 4 or 5 singles before I put the rest of the record out.
Right.
But the record's done. So we're just sitting out and releasing them as we go through.
How much time do you spend? Maybe less time now, I don't know, sequencing the record than, because that's an art in itself, right?
Are you talking about like track order?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that for this record because previously, I kind of just tried to do it like I like Queen did their records. If that makes sense. Like you got your barn burners up front, you got your mid-tempo ones in the middle,
right?
And you try to
close it out.
Yeah. So, we'll see. Well, I don't know. That will probably be the same thing with this. That tends to be how I do my records.
Right. Okay. What are you planning on? I don't know if it's too early to say this, but are you planning on taking this on the road? Is there any sort of
I'd love to. You know what I mean? So it's been wacky even trying to plan. So as you can imagine, like you so many things canceled in 2020. Like we had potential trips to Europe and China that we had talked to with my manager. And, you know, come January, I started getting phone calls like, hey, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to be able to do this. And it just, you know, so we'd love to get it on the road as quick as we can. But right now we've been just trying to do bigger shows in our hometown. Like we just played with Buck Cherry a couple weeks ago. And I got COVID like 2 days after that. It was terrible.
Really?
Oh, and I'm vaccinated, man. It was terrible. It was terrible. So like we went and played this show at the House of Blues with like 2,000 people. And then I try to be real careful. I'm not shaking hands. I'm doing elbows,
right?
And fist bump, sanitizing and everything. And you know, we were masked up when we did the load in and the load out and all that kind of stuff. All the staff was masked up, and I still ended up getting it like 2 days later. So the show was on Tuesday. Thursday, I started having symptoms. Friday, I was just out, man.
Wow.
So yeah, it was crazy. So and then we're playing with Struggle Jennings. On the 7th at the Odeon. So we're just trying to get out there and play as much as we can and do as much as we can.
Is it nice to be back on stage again?
It is. We only played 2 shows in 2020. So we did one in February. We did a real big show at a theater, and we were gearing up for springtime, fall, and, you know, probably playing like 40 shows or whatever.
Right. Was the energy insane?
For which one?
Any of the new shows, the ones you just played.
Yeah. People were crazy with the Buck Cherry show.
I imagine that, you know, people locked up so long and they want to see a show. They're ready.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. I mean, Buck Cherry's great.
Yeah.
And I've never seen him before. And one of my old business partners was in a band that toured with them for like a year. And there were people at that show that I know locally that I would never imagine would be at a Buck Cherry show. And they were just like, oh my God, Buck Cherry. I'm like, do you even listen to Buck Cherry, dude?
Right.
Like, but they didn't care, man. They were just ready to get lit.
Throw down, right?
Down, man. Yeah, you know. So I was actually shocked, a couple of the folks. Like one of them does like real subdued pop music, and we've played shows with them before at other venues. And I was just like, you're at a Buck Cherry show? Like, what are you doing? Do you know who's playing?
Right.
You know, and that was fun, man. So, so hopefully this next one will be good too. I just hope everybody's staying safe and that most of the folks that are coming are, you know, vaccinated or doing
the right thing. Right.
Yeah. Cause I know I've been, man, and I still got it. So just, you know.
All right. So lastly, if fans want to find you, are you pretty active social media wise? And if so, can you give us your?
I am easy to find. It's either Shawn Perry Official or Shawn Perry or the Shawn Perry. So depending on what platforms that. So for Facebook and YouTube and whatnot, it's just Shawn Perry Official. And for Twitter, it's the Shawn Perry, and it's Instagram as well. So we're easy to find, man.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time. Stay safe. And I hope to see you on the road somewhere along the way.
Absolutely, man. Me too. Hope to see you at a show either here or there at some point.
Either here or there. Be well, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Ever wonder what a punch from Elton John feels like?
Or how you'd cope with having turned down the chance to be in Nirvana?
Or what signal Keith Richards gives when he wants you to get the hell out of his hotel room?
Fans of Too Much Effing Perspective don't have to wonder, because they've heard these exact stories and a jillion others on our podcast. I'm Alex Hoffman, former tour manager for Radiohead.
And I'm musician and comedy writer Alan Keller. On the TMEP show, we get guests like Nancy Wilson from Heart, Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, and Modern Family's Julie Bowen to tell us things they may have only shared with their therapist, clergy, or a TMZ stringer.
So join us on Too Much Effing Perspective. That's EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.